I'm about to ruin entire X Trilogy for you. Pearl isn't scary because she's some violent old woman swinging a pitchfork or stabbing people on a dusty Texas farm. She's scary because she's the version of you, or me. If every single dream we've ever whispered to ourselves got crushed under the weight of a small life, and then turned inward until it became something starving, something that had to feed on everyone else's life just to feel real. And listen, this one needs way more attention than it gets. The psychology running through Mia Goth's characters across X, Pearl, and Maxxxine is some of the rawest, most uncomfortable, and human stuff we've ever seen in modern horror. It deserves a deeper dive. Let's settle in because we're going to unpack Pearl, especially young Pearl, old Pearl, and how her shadow stretches over Maxxxine. This isn't just slasher stuff. This is a full psychological portrait of ambition, sexual shame, generational repression, and what happens when a woman's need to be seen and desired gets denied for decades. Let's start with the old lady in X. On the surface, she looks like your standard backwoods killer. Decrepit, jealous, feeding porn actors to alligators. But that's Pearl 50 years later, still burning and watching young, vibrant, sexually liberated woman with the exact fantasy she was never allowed. That rage isn't random jealousy. It's a lifetime of resentment that calcified into something predatory. She doesn't just kill them, she studies them. She resents their bodies, their freedom, their moment in the spotlight. Psychologically, this is chronic, unresolved envy fused with decades of sexual repression, finally exploding outward. Pearl learned early that her desires were sinful, dangerous, something to be hidden. So when she sees others expressing them openly, she erases the reminder. But the real heart and the real horror lives in the prequel Pearl, young Pearl. Mia Goth playing this bright-eyed farm girl with a smile that barely contains the storm inside. She's trapped on that isolated Texas farm during World War II. Husband away fighting, polio in the air, strict religious mother who rules with shame, and a father who's emotionally checked out after his own trauma. Pearl's only escape is fantasy, dancing in the barn, dreaming of Hollywood lights, being adored by crowds. That opening dance sequence, you don't just watch her move, you feel the hunger. It's not sweet little girl ambition, it's desperate, all-consuming. Like if she stops moving, the emptiness will swallow her whole. Psychologically, this screams frustrated grandiosity. Pearl has an inflated sense of destiny. I'm special. I'm meant for more than this dirt and these rules. But she has zero real outlet and zero emotional support. When reality keeps slamming the door, she doesn't shrink her dreams. She starts punishing the world that keeps saying no. We see it build slowly, the little cruelties, killing the farm animals, not in rage, but with this eerie calm, lying without hesitation, manipulating situations to get what she wants. And then the movie producer arrives, the one that offers her a real taste of the spotlight. He flatters her and sees her talent, and then rejects her for being too much, too farm girl, too raw, not refined enough for the stage. That rejection scene is the psychological breaking point. You can almost hear the snap. This is classic narcissistic injury. The gap between her grandiosity self-image and cruel reality becomes unbearable. So she doesn't adjust. She removes the sources of the pain. The way she murders her family. It's not messy, emotional chaos. It's methodical, almost cathartic for her. She clears the obstacles with this strange sense of relief. And afterwards, that flat, empty effect while the blood cools. That's what happens when empathy gets completely overridden by the need to protect the fragile, starving ego. The world hurt her repeatedly, so she removes the pieces of the world until it stops hurting. This is malignant narcissism, layered on top of severe attachment trauma. Pearl's parents crushed her spirits in the name of decency and religious purity. Her mother's bitter control, her father's silent withdrawal. They taught her that wanting anything for herself was selfish and dirty. So when she finally unleashes, it's explosive, that iconic scene where she dances in her mother's dress, covered in blood, smiling like she's finally free. That's pure psychological release. The ecstasy of shedding decades of shame in one violent, beautiful, horrifying moment. And the ending of Pearl. Her husband comes home from the war, and she greets him with that perfect, practiced housewife, creepy smile, while the house rots with corpses behind closed doors. That's the mask she learns to wear. Survive by performing whatever role they expect until you can burn it all down and build your own stage. Now let's connect it to Maxxxine. Maxxxine is Pearl's mirror and her warning. Another ambitious, beautiful young woman clawing her way into Hollywood fame. But where Pearl was crushed by the system and became the monster who punishes dreamers, Maxxxine fights like hell not to become her. She's running from that same bottomless hunger, that same terror of being ordinary, forgotten, or trapped in a small life. Mia Goth, playing both the young killer and the final girl across the trilogy, is pure genius. It visually shows how razor thin the line is. One more rejection, one more you're not enough, one more might feel invisible, and the dreamer can so easily flip into the nightmare. The whole trilogy is a masterclass in the dark psychology of the American dream, especially for women. The pressure to be desirable, to be watched, to matter in a world that chews people up. Pearl internalizes the shame and turns it outward in violence. Maxxxine tries to weaponize that same fire into survival and stardom. The old Pearl on the farm is the endpoint, the dream fully rotted, still trying to feel alive by stealing life and pleasure from others. Let's go even deeper on Pearl, because this character honestly deserves more serious discussion than she gets. She's not a mindless villain. She's achingly human, lonely beyond words, sexually repressed in a time when women's bodies were policed constantly, genuinely talented. That dance scene proves she had the spark, but born in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong family. That scene when she auditions and gets politely dismissed. You don't just see disappointment, you see her entire future collapsing in real time. And then you watch her walk home through the fields, and you know something is about to die. This taps into the psychology of thwarted ambition plus narcissistic wound. When someone's entire identity rests on "I am special and the world will see it," repeated rejection doesn't humble them. It devalues everyone else. Pearl stops seeing victims as people. They become obstacles, competition, walking reminders that she was denied. Her sexuality is especially layered and messed up. In X, old Pearl is obsessed with the young porn stars, watching them, touching herself, and then punishing them for having the freedom she never did. In Pearl, her sexual awakening is tangled with violence, guilt, and power. That push-pull, craving desire but punishing it, comes straight from deep internalized misogyny and religious trauma. Her mother taught her that her body and its wants were sinful, so Pearl both worships and destroys that energy and others. And the loneliness is crushing. She talks to the scarecrow like a lover. She imagines an entire lives while feeding the animals. That desperate longing for connection that curdles into violence when it's denied again and again. It's both heartbreaking and terrifying, because who hasn't felt unseen? Pearl just refuses to say unseen, even if it means everyone else stops seeing it at all. What makes Mia Goth's performance legendary is how she forces you to feel for Pearl, even when she's doing the worst things imaginable. You understand the little girl who just wanted to dance under lights instead of barn beams. You see the shame, hunger, the fear of dying ordinary, and that sliver of empathy makes the horror hit 10 times harder. Suddenly, the killer isn't some distant other. She's the shadow side of every dream we chase. Culturally, the trilogy nails something we don't talk about enough: how celebrity culture and fame hunger exploit the same wounds Pearl carries. In the 1940s, it was Hollywood's golden age, promising escape. Today, it's social media and adult films promising the same: be seen, desired, matter. Pearl shows what happens when that promise is dangled and then yanked away for a lifetime. The old lady version in X is the slow decay of that hunger, still performing, still jealous, and trying to feel young and wanted by destroying what reminds her what she's not. This is why these movies linger and we talk about a lot. They're not just gory fun. They're a brutal mirror to the ugly parts of wanting more than what you were given. The shame of it, the rage when it's denied, the willingness to destroy everything, including yourself if it means being seen, even for one bloody, perfect moment. Pearl shows us an endpoint where that inner fire has nowhere safe to burn, and no one to teach her how to handle the heat. So next time you watch the trilogy, really look into her eyes, that mix of wide-eyed innocence and bottomless starvation. That's not just incredible acting. That's psychology laid completely bare. The scariest part? You start wondering how many Pearls are walking around right now, smiling politely on the outside, while something inside them is quietly sharpening a pitchfork and practicing one last dance. And how close any of us might be to becoming her. If life keeps saying no one too many times, that's the real terror Mia Goth and T. West put on screen. Not the blood on the floor, the hunger that never got fed and learned to eat the world instead. And once you really see it, you can't look away. Take a breath after this one, because Pearl doesn't just chase you, she makes you understand why she has to. And that understanding, that's what stays with you long after the credits roll. Thank you for being here, and if horror feels like home, join the Dominion.